Snack time. Keto cookies. They're good. That's my cold open snack time because I couldn't think of anything else. Be back in a minute. Greetings, one and all, and welcome once again to Tom's Hit Parade. By the way, I invite you to hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you like what you see, share this video with your friends, and leave me your thoughts down in the comment section. That'd be cool. So yes, you read the title and thumbnail of this video correctly. Playlist is back. Yes, after a, 2 or 3 year absence, I have brought back my playlist feature, and it's basically what I've been listening to lately. That's the whole concept of playlist. Yeah, lofty concept for a video, huh? Anyway, yes, this is in keeping with a New Year's resolution. You might have seen me or heard me mention it in my year-end videos. The row of records that you see at the top of your screen there, and there's also a row above it on this cabinet. Those are the records that I have not yet listened to lately. Yes, that is the size of my vinyl listening backlog. And actually, the row above this one is actually a little bit longer. So, yes, that is the whole idea behind me bringing back playlists for this year. My resolution was to eliminate or at least drastically reduce my vinyl listening backlog. And so, yes, as a result, playlist this year at least will almost exclusively be vinyl, which is something that I have not talked about much lately on my channel. Yes, for some reason, I've just gotten away from listening to vinyl the last 2 or 3 years, and I almost forgot what a nice, pleasant experience it is. Tactile experience because you get to halfway through your listening, you have to flip the record over, and there's the lifting the tone arm onto the record, and um, sometimes I brush the records before I play them, sometimes I don't. But yes, just kind of the whole experience of vinyl listening kind of got away from me. I love the convenience of CD listening, and particularly being able to rip CDs into digital files that you can listen to on your phone. I do a lot of listening on the go, so yeah. Back during the pandemic, when I was working from home, I did a whole lot of vinyl listening because I wasn't going anywhere. And yeah, since work from home mostly went away, vinyl listening kind of mostly went away too. And now I'm realizing the error of my ways. I've never totally abandoned vinyl listening. It's just I've done a lot less of it lately. But anyway, yes, my goal has been to originally my goal for reducing my playlist, my listening backlog, was to listen to an album every day in the evenings, which is something I don't do. Yeah, as much as I love music, I just have not really tried, listening to a record to unwind at night before going to bed. I always put on YouTube and stuff, and I still have not quite gotten into the habit of doing that yet. But I realized I did some rough number crunching, and I think if I listen to an average of one record every other day, by the end of the calendar year, I should be done with my listening backlog, uh, minus any records I pick up in between now and then. But yes, so yes, I do have. This is the January installment, a little bit late for reasons I won't get into, and so yes, I have about 16 records that I have listened to so far, in keeping with that one record every other day um, pace, if you will. So let's just go ahead and dive in. I've kind of arranged these records roughly by genre or mood. First off, we have something that I didn't even know existed until I saw it on the racks at House of Records. Neil Schon from Journey. Is it Sean or Schon? I don't know how you pronounce it. And Jan Hammer, a great instrumentalist whose biggest claim to fame was the theme from the TV series Miami Vice. This is I believe it's their first album, Untold Passion. And I actually found a few months after I picked this one up, I found what I believe is their second album. They actually did two albums together. This is a pretty good album, I've got to say. It is mostly vocals. I think as I recall, there are a couple of instrumental tracks, but it is mostly tracks with vocals on it. But yeah, great stuff. Pretty much 80s rock, which is kind of what you'd expect from the Journey frontman and an 80s instrumentalist. getting together, kind of what you would expect from the genres they ordinarily work in. And I cannot remember any great tracks off the bat. Oh, Wasting Time was good, and oh, what was the one that was kind of really? It really had a good, interesting, what do you call it, melody, and also an interesting time signature. I think that was The Ride. It was either The Ride or I'm Down. Check out those tracks. But yeah, this album is worth picking up if you're a fan of '80s stuff. I would definitely pick it up, and it is from 1981. Oh, it's older than I thought it was. I would have expected it mid '80s, but yeah, very good stuff, I've got to say. And then we have, I didn't really plan how I was going to. Um, yeah, I'll just set them gently down on the floor beside me. Next one is one you are probably familiar with. It is Tour de Force by 38 Special. That rock band. Are they considered a southern rock band? They kind of fit the mold, but kind of sorta. But yes, this was an album. This album was. My brother does not listen to a whole lot of music. He did back in the '80s. For some reason, he listened to a lot more music back then than he does now. When he was a teenager, than he does now. But this was one of his absolute favorite albums from back in the '80s. And I listened to it. Little backstory here. He had me since I was kind of the person who was good with making mixtapes. He had me make like a 10 tape set of which he called Best of a Decade, and it was just all the songs, pretty much all the songs from all the albums that he listened to. So there was a whole lot of stuff from various artists that not just necessarily hit singles, but just album tracks and the whole bit. And Tour de Force by 38 Special is one of those albums that pretty much every song is somewhere on that set of tapes, which as soon as I started having the ability to burn CDs, I turned that into a CD set for him. So yeah, I'm pretty much am familiar, if not intimately, at least somewhat, kind of subconsciously familiar with every one of the songs on this album. If I'd Been the One, Back Where You Belong, One Time for Old Time, See Me in Your Eyes. Um, yeah, it's a great album. If I can't remember how successful it was in terms of their overall discography, how it ranks in terms of sales and whatnot. But yeah, I enjoy it. Probably what do you call it? By osmosis from my brother loving it so much. So, but this album is sorry. Side note here: the folks next door have chickens, and they don't. As chickens tend to do if they are not very well fenced in, they just kind of roam around, and they roam into our backyard frequently. We don't care because they don't hurt anything, but the rooster crows pretty regularly, as roosters tend to do. And so I just heard that, and that's what distracted me. So funny little side note about our living situation here. Anyway, this next album here is kind of more my speed. I actually did not own this album in any format until I picked it up from the record store from House of Records 3 or 4 months ago. Rhythm of the Night by DeBarge. The title track, of course, is one of the biggest hits of the '80s. Fantastic dance song, and excuse me. Oh, what was the other one? Oh, Who's Holding Donna Now is a great ballad as well. And I thought there was another one. There was another one that sounded familiar when I listened to it, but I can't remember which one it was now. But yeah, great classic '80s R&B here. And was it '80s? Oh yeah, 1983. Oh, actually, it says it has a 1983 and a 1985 copyright date on there. So yeah. But yes, Rhythm of the Night, of course, being an '80s kid, that was on regular rotation on the radio and on MTV and all that stuff. So I pretty much can't help but love that song. It got played, but not quite to the point of being annoying. And then we have this one. Their place in music history is up for some debate, some controversy. Controversy, yes, that doesn't even begin to describe it. Milli Vanilli. Yes, I had this on CD, and since this was essentially their one and only album, I saw it on vinyl at House of Records in the new arrivals, and it was $20, but probably just because it was fairly rare. Well, kind of rare. It came out pretty much at the end of the vinyl era, I believe. Yeah, 1989. So yeah, vinyl was already on the outs, sort of, by 1989. So I decided to go ahead and pick it up and got rid of the CD. So yeah, how can you not resist? Even though these guys here, pictured here, did not sing a freaking word of the songs, we found out later, unfortunately. How can you not love it? Girl, you know it's true. Baby, don't forget my number. Blame it on the rain. Yeah, like it's essentially a greatest hits album. Well, mainly because it was their only album. But yeah, it's just too bad that their thirst for fame, I think, got the better of them, and they probably went along with the ruse when they might not have ordinarily have done so. So yeah, I guess you can't totally blame them, but you can mostly blame them, I think. You can blame the producer, definitely. But anyway, uh, that being what it is, this one I found at St. Vinny's store, and it is a self-titled album by Q-Feel. The song Dancing in Heaven, Orbital Bebop. That was the big hit of theirs. I think they were pretty much a one-hit wonder. But yes, it was a great, one of the big dance hits of the 80s, 1983. Yeah, a lot of 83 albums here so far. But yeah, the rest of the album was pretty darn good too. But yeah, Dancing in Heaven was the only song of theirs that I'd ever heard. But yeah, I can't tell you what other songs I enjoyed. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they have, I don't know what the deal is with this sticker, but of course it conveniently covers up most of the track list. So, but yeah, if you listen to Dancing in Heaven, that's kind of what the rest of the album sounds like. So yeah, if you like 80s dance stuff, check out Q-Feel. And then this one I've had for some of the records in this backlog I have had for 2 years. That is how much I have neglected my vinyl listening. And that's another reason why I wanted to do this, to tackle my vinyl backlog. Is, you know, what's the point in having these records if I'm not going to appreciate them? You know, really. This one has been in my collection for over a year, I think. Greg Phillinganes, I think that's how you pronounce his name. But yeah, he is a keyboardist, as you can see here, and this is his album, Pulse. And he has worked with, if you look up his credits online, he was pretty much everywhere in the 80s and 90s. He appeared on dozens and dozens and dozens of albums by some of the biggest artists. So yes, even though he never really made his name as a solo artist, with his own albums under his own name, but he was pretty much everywhere. On records, on the radio, and all that stuff. So, and yeah, this is good stuff. Actually, I don't know if I don't think I may have ever really paid attention to the writing credits here, and it's produced by Richard Perry, so a great 80s producer. But yeah, the first track, Behind the Mask, written by Michael Jackson, Ryuichi Sakamoto, and Chris Mosdell. But yeah, Donald Fagen, Lazy Nina is a song by Donald Fagen. That was really good. I recall that one was really good. Most of these songs are excellent. But yeah, 80s R&B pop is what this is. And yeah, his keyboard work is fantastic. 1984 is when this album was put out. So yeah, very, very good stuff. Shake It, as I recall, was a good one. Playing with Fire, Won't Be Long Now. Oh, no wonder I liked Won't Be Long Now. Special guest vocalists, the Pointer Sisters. So, and yeah, I Have Dreamed, which was a Rodgers and Hammerstein song that he adapted. Robbie Neville has wrote a few of the songs on here. So yeah, I would. You can do a lot worse than to check out Greg Phillinganes. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, this guy's name, I know how you pronounce it. Elton John. This is his album Too Low for Zero. A great album. I think I have it on CD, but when I saw it it was probably at House of Records. Yes, I'm Still Standing. I guess that's why they call it the blues. So yeah, probably one of the more successful albums of his from the 80s, 1983. I did not realize until I was looking at these now in this video how many of these were from 1983. I guess I should have been more. If I'd been more selective, I could have actually made it a consistent theme through the video. Let's see how many more I have from 1983. Anyway, good album. I don't think I need to explain this one anymore. It's probably a big enough, high profile enough album that its reputation precedes it. So yes, very good. Now this one, my fellow 80s listeners probably remember who this guy is, but I don't think anybody outside of there would know. His name is Taco. That's his stage name, obviously. Actually, Taco Okersa. I think maybe he is Dutch. Let me see. Here's his name, Taco Okersa. And again, I could be destroying the pronunciation of that. Sorry, I've got sunlight coming through the window, so it's there might be extra bright spots in the video. But anyway, what Taco did was he tried to start a trend that unfortunately did not catch on, or perhaps fortunately, I don't know, depending on your musical tastes. But yes, what he did was 80s synth pop versions of classic golden age of cinema show tunes like "Putting on the Ritz," "Singing in the Rain," "La Vie en Rose," the Edith Piaf song "Cheek to Cheek," and "Thanks a Million." I think was another, a Gus Kahn, Arthur Johnston song. So yeah, "Putting on the Ritz" was the song that was big. The one hit single that he had, and yes, another one hit wonder, unfortunately. Or fortunately, again, depending on what you think. And this one was from 1982. So, but yeah, and he put out, I think, a couple of other albums. I have or had a greatest hits album. The rest of it was okay, kind of more of the same, which honestly sounds like that rooster's right outside my window. Anyway, as you can probably imagine, that little niche type of music could only go so far. You could only listen to so much of it before it started becoming boring. Which this album is just about the right length of that kind of stuff, and then you don't want any more. But I'm glad I picked it up. I really enjoy it. It's kind of a fun little memory from the 80s. Um, the more, it's almost novelty, I guess, in a way. But anyway, moving on. Here we go. We're going into kind of the easy listening, and actually, there's just all sorts of stuff coming up here. I won't even try to define the genres, but here we have the Modern Airs, and this one I think might have been on the freebie shelf at House of Records. Yes, the Modern Airs sing the great Glenn Miller instrumentals. So, as what it says on the tin here, vocal versions of Glenn Miller instrumentals: Tuxedo Junction, Pennsylvania 65000, Moonlight Serenade, In the Mood, Little Brown Jug, Stardust. And I assume that the lyrics were, original lyrics that they didn't make up for this record, because all I had never ever known those songs as until I listened to this album were instrumentals. Now I think I heard a vocal version of Moonlight Serenade. Oh yeah, is it Carly Simon who did? Yeah, she did an album of old standards, and Moonlight. It was actually called Moonlight Serenade, and so yeah, she did a vocal version of it. But other than her version, I had not heard any vocal versions of these songs until this album. Pretty good. Really like the arrangements, the vocal arrangements of the songs, the way these were done. Kind of hard to explain, but the vocal arrangements were kind of done as instrumentals would be done. They didn't just sing in a standard flat harmony. Some of the singers would ascend in the notes, and some would. I don't know the technical stuff about music, so I'm not explaining it very well. But trust me when I say just very good vocal arrangements of these songs. This album was better than I thought it was going to be. So because of that, the arrangements. So very good stuff. Then we have an album that I was happy to pick up. It is the 1988 Summer Olympics album, One Moment in Time. The title track by Whitney Houston was a big hit on the radio at the time. And this album also includes the orchestral Olympic theme, Olympic Spirit, by my man, John Williams. And yes, a bunch of other songs here by various well-known artists. The Four Tops, the Bee Gees, Taylor Dane, and etc. So, yes, very good stuff, and yeah, kind of a cool little keepsake from that era, from the Olympics back in the '80s, and of course, being a John Williams, something of a John Williams collector, cool to have that composition on vinyl here. Then we have something else that also includes some John Williams compositions on it. It is the greatest hits of Tomita. Tomita is a is or was, I'm not sure if he's still around, an electronic artist. Did synthesizer versions of classical compositions and of course film music and stuff like this album. On this album, he covers Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind by John Williams, and most of the rest of it is classical pieces. So yeah, it's as with most greatest hits album, it gives you a good overview, a good sampling of the sound from Tomita. And this one was done in 1979, and it was a little bit different than what I was expecting. Normally I was expecting just kind of plain old, synthesized, like keyboard synthesizers renditions of songs, but he put interesting little effects and samples, probably of certain sounds and stuff, that made it a little bit interesting. Kind of maybe taking cues on what Stevie Wonder and those artists did with synthesizers back in the late '60s, early '70s. Kind of what some of the prog artists from the '70s did. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I will have to listen to that one a few more times. Okay, now we're getting into the soundtracks portion of today's playlist. Now, most of them you will have heard of, but this first one you probably have not heard of. The Jupiter Menace. This one I got at Too Many Records, the store up in Portland. If the name Too Many Records sounds familiar, yes, there is a YouTube channel by that name. And the guy who runs the YouTube channel a couple of years ago opened up a record store with the same name up in Portland. So if you ever happen to stop in there, you will see a familiar face if you watch his YouTube channel. But yeah, this one, I had owned this record back when I was a kid. I didn't know anything about the Jupiter Menace, other than that it is apparently some kind of a documentary starring George Kennedy, the film actor. I don't know what it was about, but although I think it exists on YouTube, I think you can watch it on YouTube. I haven't, at least not yet. But anyway, owned it a long time ago, way back when I was a kid, and really enjoyed it. Ended up completely forgetting about it, and lo and behold, it was up there in the $1 or $2 section. So I decided to go ahead and pick it up. And yes, it is music by Larry Fast and his synthesizer band Synergy, which I've also got a couple of other albums of theirs. And I think most of these compositions were previously released on other Synergy albums and were just either they were reworked and or retitled for inclusion on the Jupiter Menace soundtrack. Brings back a lot of memories. It was electronic music and new age and that kind of stuff was some of the first music I ever got into. So, excuse me. So yes, finding this again after decades and decades of it being gone from my collection and mostly being gone from my memory, even was kind of cool. But yes, the closing theme from the Jupiter Menace was kind of cool. That one somehow stuck in my head all those years. It's kind of one of those things that sticks in your brain that sometimes you don't even remember what it was from, and the song just pops in your head. Kind of one of those kind of things. Anyway, here we're moving on to a pop or rock soundtrack, however you want to look at the genre. Xanadu. It is, yes, with Olivia Newton-John and the Electric Light Orchestra. Basically, one side of the album is devoted to each artist. A little bit of mildew I can smell from here. I guess I need to take care of that. Anyway, so yeah, the songs Magic and Suddenly from Olivia Newton-John were a couple of her big hits. And then, of course, All Over the World. I'm not sure if I think maybe I'm Alive was another hit for Electric Light Orchestra. But yes, All Over the World has been one of my favorite songs ever since I was a kid. And yeah, this is the movie it was from. I have never seen the movie, don't know what it's about, but here is the um, what do you call it? Gatefold. That's the word for the album. And so, yeah, cool disco pop funk ish stuff from the late 70s. 1980, excuse me. So, yeah, cool stuff. And then we have one from, this is another one from 83, I think. No, 1985. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And yes, one of Tina Turner's, one of her first acting roles, I think. And yes, of course, with her being in the movie, of course, she put out a couple of songs. Uh, We Don't Need Another Hero, one of her biggest all time hits, is, of course, the theme for the movie, basically. And then One of the Living. And I remember that song being on the soundtrack. Haven't heard the soundtrack in decades until I picked it up at House of Records a couple months ago. And so I remember, just vaguely remember the song One of the Living existing, but it was kind of cool to hear it again, and also to hear the instrumental score by Maurice Jarre. And this can almost be classified as an EP because there are just 3 tracks on each side. Yes, 3 songs, and the third song is an instrumental version of "We Don't Need Another Hero." So there you go. And that's 3 songs, 3 tracks from the Maurice Jarre score. So is it an EP? Is it an album? I'll let you decide. But I need to see the movie again because I have not seen it in forever. But yeah, yes, it'll be interesting to see the movie again to see how it's aged. So that was cool. Now this, on the other hand, and you may not have heard of this movie either. And actually, oh no, I was going to say it's also a Maurice Jarre, but no, it's not. Brain fart. But this is one of my favorite movies from one of my all-time favorite movies, Time After Time, and it is by Miklos Roja, one of his final scores, I think. Yes, this movie was done in 1979, and it stars Malcolm McDowell as H.G. Wells, a fictionalized version of H.G. Wells, obviously, and kind of poses the question: what if H.G. Wells had actually built the time machine that he wrote a novel about? And what if he had to come to present day, which in this case was 1979, to chase Jack the Ripper, who had escaped in his time machine? So Jack is played by David Warner, incidentally. So yes, an interesting movie. Nicholas Meyer's first movie. Nicholas Meyer directed 2 Star Trek films, and was a pretty successful director later on. And Mary Steenburgen is the other main star of the movie. Loved her in that movie. But yes, an excellent score. I've had it on CD for a long, long time, and there's actually an expanded CD out that exists out there, but it is out of print and quite expensive. So hopefully I will get it one day. But yes, happy to have. This was actually in the lot along with a bunch of John Williams soundtracks from St. Vinny's from a couple of months ago, like back in November. That's right. It was the day after my birthday. I came across that big bonanza lot of soundtrack records from St. Vinny's. So yeah, very happy to have this on vinyl and on CD. Great, great listen. And the final record in my playlist for today is, gee, what a shock. It's a John Williams album. Well, it's a Boston Pops album conducted by John Williams. It is Pops Around the World, Digital Overtures. And one of the overtures, and this actually I also got at St. Vinny's, and one of my favorite tracks or my favorite track on this album is one of my favorite John Williams tracks of all time. It is the Cowboys Overture. It is a suite of music that he arranged from the score that he wrote for the John Wayne film The Cowboys. So yeah, excellent, fantastic composition, and of course the Boston Pops does a great job with everything that they tackle in their albums. Very cool to have. I mean, I've got a Boston Pops box set on CD, and this is included in there, but had to pick up the record as well. So fantastic bunch of stuff, and I've got a whole bunch of other albums to go through. So yes, I'm going to keep this playlist feature going every month through the entire year. see how much of that vinyl backlog I can knock down. But for now, that'll do it for this video. Be sure to like it if you like it. And before you go, drop me some feedback in the comment section. I'd love to know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon to catch my future videos, and hit my username to browse my old videos. Links to my socials and my favorite fellow YouTubers are in the description below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and remember, life's too short to be a music snob.